Mr. Richards, we welcome you this morning, and we're ready for your opening statement.
Good morning. Morning. Thank you, and thank you, Justice Wiggins, David, and the commissioners. I've, in the past, either spoken or met with all of you. Before today's interview, I have been reading The Right of Privacy by Allan, Alderman, and Caroline Kennedy. And privacy most certainly will be an issue that is at the forefront of the court. And this process today demonstrates that, I'm willing to give up some of that privacy and those rights that would normally be protected, but it most definitely is a concern. Today, I wish to use my time to talk about our community and the need for leadership. My discussion is divided into 4 parts. Why are we here today? Why select me? The leadership issue, and then my conclusion. Why are we here today? A community protects, nurtures, and provides for all its members. A community gives from the heart for the individual and establishes a governing body. In Iowa, that community has given authority to this commission to help select our Supreme Court justices. I ask for your support. I ask as a member of our community. I wish that I would have hours of time to discuss all matters with this commission. Each person has a favorite issue, a life expectation, and concern relative to the task at hand. It is certain that the voters have said that 3/7 of the Iowa Supreme Court shall be replaced. Politically, some people say that the other justices should step aside, and others advocate that the elected attorneys on this commission should not be here. But we are here in an open process. 7 commissioners are appointed by a Democratic governors, and ultimately, you shall send 9 names to a Republican governor. Politics has no role in any of this process. The law says so. The selection is nonpartisan. Your affiliation with God, family, or party may factor into your decision. I only ask that you carefully consider my qualifications, life work, and commitment to the Iowa community. The very community I will take an oath to uphold the Constitution of Iowa and the United States. Why me? There was a movie written back in 1985 by Sidney Poitier that says, when you only got one shot at the top, you move fast forward. I will make mistakes in the future. I have made mistakes in the past. One of Iowa's greatest coaches always says, forget your mistakes fast and make improvements, work hard, and win the next match. You shall move on and be successful. I have too many good memories of achievement, individually and in joint effort. Do I have a right to be placed in a positive light in the future? Is that right earned? Is it a reward? Is it purchased? Or is it an evolution? This is an answer for this commission. I suppose the press and the public at large will have a say. The story written on me is for me to say in the future. You will play a significant role in any outcome, and ultimately the governor will make the choice. Of course, the voters could take that all away on the next retention vote. I fully understand. I only pray that I am able to convince you that when the issues are brought to the court, that the rule of law will be followed, that a proper analysis presented, and the conclusions gain respect of the citizens of Iowa. It will be the Supreme Court that will carry out its constitutional role. Decisions, determination, and dedication will be necessary to lead Iowa into the future. This shakeup of the court is an indication that all stakeholders are demanding greater unification across all sectors here in Iowa. But we are not fast forward into the future. We are here now. What will persuade you to select Allan M. Richards, myself, candidate for the court? You have my personal data on my lifetime. There's dedicated service, education, and commitment to the greater good. The decision should be based on your reasoning about those qualities you determine are necessary. Leadership. Leadership is important from the pure standpoint of standing for retention and effectiveness on the court. On the court will take the ability to be a pathfinder, a team builder, a gardener. These traits are important in performing the essential functions of the office. To foster the needs, desires, and wants of all stakeholders. This may be in the form of a vision, a goal, a pace on the court, the path that leads us into the future. Or is it team building to help others get things done on the court, stepping out of the way when required, or bringing a resource to the table, or simply working hard as a gardener to bring a positive culture back within the halls of government and embodying the core values and principles that we all love in our community. By being enthusiastic and understanding about the issues that are presented, providing the raw materials to make the necessary decisions with proper recognition and rewards when appropriate, I stand ready to move forward on the court. I am not going to be a miracle worker that will be automatically bringing down results from the sky. I only wish I had the pedigree from the right college or university, but I am satisfied with mine. If only I was of the right heritage, and I am happy in my own skin. But I have worked hard. I have built a career working at the most basic levels in labor, management, and administration, and in the law, both criminal and civil. I will finish with this note, as time is at hand. The court is responsible for the administration of justice. I believe that there are answers. The court will forge ahead. The court gathers statistics. They may provide some of the answers with insight into the process and methods. It will require efforts from the whole community. Think about the greater good of the citizens of Iowa and the type of justice you require. My feelings, my beliefs revolve around good morals, respect, and integrity. I have had a diverse training and set of skills to bring all spectrums of the rainbow to the table. I have been on distinct missions and assignments to be fully knowledgeable of all groups in the community. And I have made decisive decisions which allow me to fairly, faithfully, and fully respect all stakeholders in our community we call the state of Iowa. That ends my prepared remarks. Before I came in, I was looking at the Iowa Code, and primarily the judges at the Supreme Court level are responsible for the orderly and efficient administration of justice, and as well as at the court level and within the court system. And I would like to end on that and saying that I think it's important for this commission to move forward names that can accomplish those goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Do we have any questions from the right side of the table here? Professor Cochran?
Morning, Mr. Richards. One of the things that you list as a qualification is some experience in comparative law, both Native American law in the United States, but also international law. You're working in Indonesia. How do you think your familiarity with other legal systems or legal cultures can kind of, I guess, qualify you to be a justice on the Supreme Court?
I think more than anything, it shows that I have a scholastic interest in the deep roots of democracy, going back to the time of Christ, through Plato, through John Mills, and other authors. And when you go into these other democracies and they're just beginning, they're going back to the basic roots to establish a solid foundation of where they're going in the future. So bringing it to the table would just add to my thought process in formulating court decisions.
Any other questions on that side of the table? Go to this side, Mr. Holmes.
Good morning, Mr. Richards. One question that occurred to me after listening to your opening statement, and I believe it was at the beginning of the statement, was you indicated that privacy was going to be an issue before the court, I guess, in coming years. Could you expand on that a little bit and explain to us what you meant by that comment?
Well, the reading, I think a lot of it is driven by the internet, to be honest with you. That's opened up so many avenues that are yet to be determined and how it's going to affect people. And so privacy in dealing with what law enforcement has typically been the cases before the court. But you have voyeurism, you have the privacy of the self, and then of course the press, your privacy in relation to the press. So when you start combining all those issues there. Moreover, the decision that brought to the removal of the justice, in some way is a privacy issue. And there's no more privacy than a person's personal life.
If you, just for a moment, again, if you would just explain a little bit about how you see privacy as being related to the vote last fall not to retain the justices. In what sense is privacy, do you see privacy as being an issue there?
Well, I think that deep down in an individual's right to make their own decisions in a private setting is a matter of concern. The decision talks about rights. I understand that. But privacy fundamentally goes with that, whether you're spreading out into issues dealing with the person's body, a person's life, and it may have been better to discuss it in a different way, is I suppose my suggestion here.
Mr. Brody, did you have a question?
Yes. If you're in this room, you'll be working with 6 other justices. Can you just, you have a wide and varied past. Could you describe how you've worked collaboratively with others to a common goal or decision?
Well, from the intellectual point of view, it would be my collaboration in studying for my Master of Laws. I understand that's been 20 years ago. But in that academic setting, you're trained to work with others and share back and forth and trade ideas and then come to some common ground and make decisions. Politics is the same. Currently, I'm involved with the Lincoln Highway Association, and all those meetings are sometimes as many as 40 people, but normally 20 to 25. And we work things out, and you have to divide the task, you have to meet, and then you have to work together. I suppose also being on wrestling teams where each individual has to do their perfect best in order to achieve #1 status as a team, but it's the individuals on that team that bring everything together to accomplish that common goal, which is success.
Any other questions? Ms. Williams?
Good morning. Thank you for your application. We got all this information about you as an attorney. Could you tell us who you are outside of being an attorney? What do you do for fun? Who are you?
Well, I like to read. I'm passionate with the sport of wrestling, and I probably overlook, but I do send money to all the Iowa wrestling clubs, and so I try to be an example at wrestling meets. I think having the older folks there, you show by leading, by being there as a shoulder to lean on, but to show and encourage the youth, in those activities. I do like physical exercise, and I like reflecting and getting out on the Iowa River every chance I have an opportunity to. But all in all, it's probably, a person of more solitude and deep thought. My home sits overlooking a golf course, but I have a clear view to the west, and the landscape is that of the Meskwaki Nation. And I do have my heart in that nation in terms of their best interest. but also deep into the roots of Iowa. So it's getting out in nature and thinking back the days when there was plenty of trapping and fishing and hunting, although I'm not real active in those activities, but I do enjoy thinking about them and reading about them.
Mr. Cook?
Thank you, Justice Wiggins. Sir, as you know, this group is charged with finding the best qualified candidates to nominate to the governor without regard to political affiliation. And so I have a question for you, and I don't want you to misinterpret it.
And he would start out by the many communications between him and I of being involved in the political process and being interested and dedicated to service. As far as legal skills, he probably wouldn't have a lot of information, but I would expect if he contacted the judges or my associates that I've been around, that he would get a sense that I take matters seriously, and I try to apply those back to the individuals. Senator Grassley encouraged me back in high school, and one of his favorite things was always to go work for a day in a business. And if you'll look at my 20-year work career, I always, to the best of my ability, if I took a job, I stayed there for 9 months to a year. And if I didn't like it, but it was to fully understand the people that have to do those manual jobs day in and day out, those administration jobs day in and out, the management jobs day in and day out. And I think Senator Grassley would speak to my dedication to understanding people, and then of course applying the law as would be appropriate. I had debated one of my reference, Dolly Sconzo. We were gonna, and she was working to get Senator John Glenn to go, but him and Annie, their health is deteriorating a little bit. They're over 90 years old, and it was determined that I wouldn't shed that light on him if people did want to contact him. I might add, we went to a federal bar conference last month where we learned how they select the federal judges, which you give them 5 names, you go to those 5 names and get 5 more names, and so you try to spread out and find out about an issue. I welcome that process in my case, and that's part of giving up my privacy to just put my name out here.
Out of the 60 candidates that we have, I think it's fair to say this commission, there's a lot of qualified people and there's going to be some hard decisions we have to make. How would you distinguish yourself from the other candidates? If you could say very shortly why we think you rise to the top of this pool.
Well, probably because you might call me a political animal, other than I've been out of politics for 10 years. But I've entered into discussions with the treasurer of the state of Iowa in terms of financial issues and this process and what would happen if my name is put to the governor. In all likelihood, the Republican governor is going to have some serious questions about me. But in terms of standing out, I think my party would indicate that I've distinguished myself and I should be put forward. The bar, you know, I've maintained my own. I've gone before 4 or 5 commissions. I've laid all the details of my life forward when put to the questions. And I've always been encouraged to come forward. And at this point, I still am receiving that encouragement.
When you say party, what are you referring to?
Being involved in political activity, day-to-day politics, which is going out there shaking hands, meeting people, and trying to understand what the public is, what the public wants. I do not profess to say that public opinion is going to play a role in any of my decisions, but it is part of my makeup.
Okay, well, we thank you for your time. There's only 8 seconds left, so.
Great. Thank you.
You came in time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate it.